say no. How about we try it this way? So I just wanted to say I appreciate what he said, because a lot of times we don't know what compromise even looks like, and you can only do that by talking and putting things out in the open, so you can work
So does
towards
anybody have
developing
like a real life example of, something that was near and dear to you that you did not want to compromise on, like, and how did you come to that point to say, okay, I got to concede? Does anybody have a situation that they want to share? I won't say concede, but how do I compromise? I mean,
Well, I would use my experience of see, I have a group of individuals that I pretty much grew up with for the last close to 20 years, and I would compromise spending the time that I used to spend with those individuals, even if it was one day out of the weekend. I compromised that time because I knew that building a relationship with my wife, or knowing that she isn't able to spend as much time with the same individuals that she grew up with, it wouldn't necessarily be fair. So therefore, knowing that I didn't want her feeling like, well, he's still going to do what he's been doing for all of these years, and I'm already compromising because I'm at home with the small children, and I don't get to hang out with the sisters who became my sisters, and he is doing what he's been doing as regularly scheduled.
right.
So the compromise was, I'm not even going to make her feel that way, even though it did. It took me off balance a little bit. But at the end of the day, the compromise itself became much more beneficial. And when she began to have those opportunities where she can reenact or celebrate with the sisters who she built these strong relationships with, now she encourages me. Yeah, go ahead, You ain't gonna go out with him? But yeah, that was just an example of a compromise that really, it seemed minimal in the beginning, but just the benefits of it made me see how large it was making that compromise.
So let me make sure I'm clear. So like when we talk about compromise, are we saying that when we compromise with one another, it allows the other person to grow? Because that's what I'm getting from it. It's almost like when you don't compromise, the other person is kind of stunted in a relationship. They're not necessarily growing into becoming the person that they're supposed to be your helpmeet.
Yes, sir.
For the most part.
Lady Joy, did y'all have anybody else? All right. So compromise is beneficial to the overall goal of your relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
And one question that's not on here that's kind of related to growth. So the person that you marry 5 years ago is not the person that they are today. How do you continue to grow with your partner, knowing that they're not the same person? We have this expectation of, whoever I married 5 years ago, they're going to be the same person. No, we grow, we change. Our likes change, our dislikes change. Who we are as people change, our ideologies change. How do you grow with that person? Because I hear a lot of couples say when they get a divorce, oh, we just grew apart. And they don't acknowledge that you're going to grow. How do you grow with and not away from?
I would say shared experiences. Because I was speaking with someone today, and I was saying that, you'll never know your spouse fully 100% because we do change constantly. If you're not growing, you're stagnant. You're dead, But I would say shared experiences. That's how you, like, he may do something that, he may want to do something that I'm not particularly interested in. Like, he likes to watch serious movies all the time, and I'm like, I want to watch something funny. But even something minor like that, the shared experiences allow you to grow with your partner and not grow apart.
I do like to watch serious movies, but I have a sense of humor. Let's get that out the way.
Now, every time I see you serious, Brother Thomas, so I can see why I'm like, does he laugh anytime? Because every time I see him, he's super serious.
He's pretty funny. No, he's pretty funny.
Does anybody else have anything to that point of how do you grow together versus growing apart?
Growth and benchmarks and kind of marking your progress. Like every year, like my wife and I, what we'll do is we'll do quarterly goals. Like what areas, either personally, professionally, spiritually, what goals do you want to attain these first 3 months of the year, you know? And so we just kind of do that. Because like you said, you know, you want to just grow. And here's the thing, you may not grow in every area at the same time, you know. So I think with us, we kind of, you know, we talk about these are the areas that we want to grow in. And it's helpful so when we do our evaluations, we can say, hey, this is kind of something we said we want to talk about. Do you feel like you've grown in that area?
And I think for relationships, you have to understand the vision of your relationship with your spouse. What was the purpose that you all were to get married? Why are you two involved? What brought you two together? And what is the purpose that you all are to accomplish together? And so I think for us, we knew coming in that ministry was our purpose. And so as he grows in ministry, I grow in ministry. If I see him doing something, I'm doing something, you know, and we do that collectively so that we're growing at the same rate and then we're growing at the same purpose.
Did y'all want to address that, Susan?
Ours is, for us, of course, it encompasses fitness and our lifestyle of plant-based lifestyle, but we also add couples to that. So before we were not going out with other couples, we are intentional about creating relationships, developing relationships. So we normally find people that are out the box for us as far as to establish something different. So we would go out with a couple that we would have never probably ever gone out with and see what they like and see if it's something that we like. We're trying new things. We are quick to add to education, ongoing education for relationships, revisiting. We do that kind of like that quarterly checkup, the vision thing, looking at the vision. What do you see for us? What's the long-term goal? Do you see this right now? When we take our vacations, we're intentional so that we know that we're going to rest when we go on that vacation, or either we're going to do a working vacation so we know exactly what to do, so we can say we're imparting into ourselves. I think those are just a few of the ways that we actually do it right now. And then just, you know, some weekend breaks. So, like, he may get the grandson on the Sunday and spend some time with him, or I have some time to myself. So then that afternoon, we're together. We're back together again for that afternoon time period.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's important that you don't lose yourself in the marriage, either or, especially as women. I know we give as wives because we play the role of the mother, the wife, the nurturer. And so you have to maintain who you are and your identity and not lose yourself, which is why having friends is important and spending time with your friends outside of your spouse, because you do need people to pour back into you sometimes in a way that your spouse cannot. You know, having those sister girls that say, hey, Lady Joy, I got you, I understand. Or having those brothers say, hey, I got you, I understand. So maintaining your identity in the middle of being two identities, if that makes sense. But go ahead.
Man, I thought about something when you just made that statement, because my wife was having a conversation with a sister, and she was telling the sister that she knows that her husband, my wife speaking, I know that my husband loves the brotherhood. And when you speak about needing those relationships, the scripture itself says that you can tell when man has grown from death into life when he has love for the brotherhood, and vice versa with the sisters as well, because there are individuals in the brotherhood and in the sisterhood that have a way of allowing us to pour off endorphins that our spouse have no way of being able to help us do. You know, just to add to the point that you was making, those relationships are very, very critical.
I wanted to add to that, because when you said that, it took me back to the beginning of our marriage. Once we had our first child together, my husband joined the ministry, and it really took off for him. He became the assistant to our student minister, our local student minister, after a year. And he started growing at different levels. Like, you know, he's being invited to speak places, and I felt that I was losing myself. Like, I wasn't growing at the same rate as him. Like, he was growing in his Islam, and here I am having these babies back to back and not knowing what I really want to do. But I want to say that he allowed me a space to, by freeing up my time, to find my passion and he allowed me to. He allowed me to grow and find my passion, and I found my daycare. My daycare has been. I've tried several things to find out what I wanted to do, and he's never made me feel like, okay, you're not gonna do that. You're not gonna follow through with that. But by Allah's grace, my daycare has grown, and it's growing exponentially, and I want to say thank you for that, babe.
Oh, thank you. Thomas. Well, we are conscious of time.
Right.
We don't want to keep y'all here all day because we could go on and have this conversation forever. But we have had a beautiful discussion of just uplifting Black love and Black couples. And just, I hope our listeners have gotten something meaningful and some tips to take away, because you guys have shared some amazing tips and just truth. You guys were very open and transparent. So I want to say thank you for spending this last hour or so and a half with us talking about celebrating Black love. I think more of these discussions are needed.
Absolutely.
We have to figure out a way to heal the relationship between Black men and Black women.
Come on.
I'm going to publicly speak on it because I posted about it on Facebook. I do not approve of Snoop calling Gail out of her name. You have to find a way to correct and rebuke in a more constructive way versus destructive way, because what that says to others is that it's okay to disrespect us. So discussions like this are the springboard to healing. And just transparency and growing as our families. We have to get back to the unit of being a family.
Right.
And because we all we got.
Right.
And if we can't trust them to save us, we got to start doing the work ourselves. We have to be more transparent with our community and with our teens and, those couples that just don't know. They're young and struggling and don't know. We got to be able to share the things that we've gone through so that they can learn from us and learn how to overcome as well. So the word says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. We forget about that second part. You got to speak up. I always talk about we all have a story, and your story has power. And my thing is we can change this world one story at a time. So we got to start sharing our stories with other people so that they can be healed. It's not for us. We don't go through it for us. We go through it to bless somebody else.
Right.
So.
Just to add to that, what Sister Cassandra was saying, we need to put more emphasis on the simple stuff that we forgetting. Everything that I got today was simple stuff we just overlook in a relationship. This is not scientific stuff. This is just stuff we either choose to overlook, or like Sister Cassandra was saying, we just rebellious and we don't want to listen or whatnot. We don't want to listen to the simple things. So I think at the end of the day, we need to have these discussions, keep them simple like this, and just take this simple information and internalize it and materialize it.
So one thing that we do, or I do when I close out my shows, is I allow the guests to leave one final thought with our listening audience, our viewers on Facebook. So we're going to do our final thoughts. So as we go around the room, one thing that you want to leave our listeners with, Brother Thomas, about celebrating the excellence of Black love, what's one thing you would like to leave our listeners with as we close out today?
Man, I would say, my teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, had made a statement about the necessity of family and how if we're going to have a strong nation, not just the small nation of Islam, but every Black man, woman, and child, if we're going to have a small nation, it starts by having strong families. And so all of us have reached some level of dissatisfaction in the society in which we're living. And so in order for us to transform the society in which we are living in to the society in which we want to see become a reality, having strong families are a necessity. So I would say, Black love is the most important thing that we can engage in, specifically with a Black woman and a Black man, because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches that heaven lies at the foot of this Black woman.
Ooh, you better say
Do
that
you hear
again.
me? Do you
Say
hear
it
me?
again, Brother Thomas.
Heaven lies at the foot of this Black woman.
Yes.
And so that's what I would like to leave with.
Sister Talisha.
Yes.